Hello, I'm Simon Whistler, you're watching TopTenzNet, and in the video today we've got a weird one for you. It's the top 10 Octogenarians gone wild. Usually when you hit your 80s, you are looking to put your affairs in order and make peace with your God. You know, slip quietly into the dark, dark night. These Octogenarians, on the other hand, wanted to continue to, well, actively participate in the processes of human reproduction. Let's get started.
Number 10. Tony Randall. Randall was best known as Felix Unger in the 1970s TV show The Odd Couple, but his career didn't begin or end there. He was in the movies, stage productions, tried his hand at writing, and of course was one of the staples of classic American television. Never one for tabloid fodder, he was married to Florence Gibbs for 50 years. Randall stayed active professionally after her death, and it was here that he met his second wife, Heather Harlan. Problem is, Randall's second marriage came when he was 75 and Heather was 25. Partly because Tony Randall at one time played a gay man on television, he was the subject of multiple vicious rumors about his personal life in relation to his second marriage. Randall became a father for the first time at the age of 77 and for a second time at age 79. Tony Randall passed away at age 84, but due to the rumors, Heather felt the need to clear the air in the Huffington Post. The article titled "We Had Frequent Sex" is easy enough to find online, but contained way too much information. Number 9. Tony Bennett. The beloved traditional pop standard singer married his third wife, then 41, at age 81, coming off the critical success of his hit album Duets, an American classic. At age 85, Bennett came out with his sequel album, Duets 2, giving him his 16th and 17th Grammys, respectively. Between the marriage, duets with female artists 60 years his junior, and the content of some of his jazz standards, we think it can be safely assumed that Tony Bennett is staying busy both day and night. Number 8. Thomas Jefferson. As one of the founding fathers of the United States of America, Thomas Jefferson is one of the pillars on which this country was built. The third president of the United States died in 1826 and has arguably found more controversy in death than any time in his life. During the election campaigns of 1802 and 1804, there were whispers that Jefferson, whose wife Martha Jefferson had passed away in 1782, had a shadow family with one of his slaves, Sally Hemings. Jefferson denied these claims until his death. Historians, though, were split to whether these allegations were true or not. Enter the 21st century, where DNA was able to link Jefferson to Sally's son, Easton, with a 99% probability of fatherhood. Easton was born when Jefferson was 65 years old. Jefferson reportedly had 6 children with Sally Hemings and owned her until he passed away at the age of 83. Sally Hemings was freed by Jefferson's daughter after his death. Again, due to dicey at best records, it can only be assumed that Jefferson was having relations with his servants until his death. Number 7. Pablo Picasso. One of the greatest and most influential artists of the 20th century, Picasso's personal life was that of a scandalous European romance novel. Picasso's youngest child, Paloma, was born out of wedlock when he was 68 years old. After numerous well-publicized affairs throughout his lifetime, Picasso wed for the second time when he turned 80 to Jacqueline Roque, 46 years his junior. She was known as his muse, having over 400 portraits painted of her by Picasso during his lifetime. A decade after Picasso died, Roque committed suicide. Number 6. George Burns. Coming out of the vaudeville performing tradition, comedian George Burns was married to Gracie Allen for 38 years before her death in 1962. During his lifetime, George was in movies, television series, radio series, wrote books, really anything having to do with performance in media, he attempted. Most of his work could be considered in the G to PG range, but the most shocking job he ever had was to be in 1984, when at the age of 88 he appeared on the cover of Penthouse magazine with Vanessa Williams. Granted, he was wearing clothes, but inside, Ms. Williams was not. George Burns went on to live to the ripe old age of 100, working almost right up until the end, but being the oldest person ever on a Penthouse cover, as a dude mind you, has to be the strangest thing on his list of accomplishments. Number 5. Abraham, father of Isaac and Ishmael. Abraham is the eponym of the Abrahamic religions, including Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The book of Genesis in the Bible records the stories of Abraham and his covenant with God. The Quran documents similar stories of Abraham and his descendants. Multiple sources document Abraham's age at his death as 175 years old. At the relatively youthful age of 75, God told Abraham, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land, and I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you." It was Abraham's seed that was needed, but his wife Sarah was having no children. At the age of 86, Abraham had a son, Ishmael, by Hagar. At 99, Abraham fathered Isaac and Sarah with the help of God. After Sarah died at the age of 127, Abraham took to a concubine and fathered at least 6 more children before his death. Number 4. King Abdullah. King Abdullah, who died at 90, had been the leader of Saudi Arabia since 2005. Due to the sensitive nature of international relations with Saudi Arabia, we'll be treading lightly here. But while researching this video, I came across the disturbing blurb that according to WikiLeaks, King Abdullah regularly receives hormone injections and uses Viagra excessively. Doesn't the government have better things to do with their time? Number 3. William Jasper Martin. In the year 2004, Alberta Martin died. She was the last widow of the Civil War. How can that be, you ask? Here's the story. William Jasper Martin fought for the Confederacy in the Civil War. When Martin was 81, he struck up a friendship with young Alberta Stewart, who, at 21, was recently widowed and needed help raising her young son. Martin and Stewart were quickly married, and 10 months later they had a son. William only lived a few more years before he passed away, where Alberta then married William's grandson. Yup. Alberta Martin went on to become a bit of a local celebrity, marching in parades and communicating with multiple Civil War historians. William Jasper Martin and his widow received a Confederate veteran's pension for almost 140 years. Number 2. J. Howard Marshall II. One of the first oil tycoons in America, Marshall left the world of academia early in his career and chased the fortunes of energy. For a billionaire, most of the drama in his life was confined to the business pages of the Wall Street Journal. Once he hit 80 though, Marshall became a widower and instead of concentrating on business, he splurged on the nightlife and had an affinity for exotic dancers. At 89, he married 26-year-old stripper Anna Nicole Smith after numerous attempts for her hand in marriage. The marriage only lasted 14 months and coincided with Smith being named the Playboy Playmate of the Year in 1993. After Marshall's death, the rest of the story plays out like a Greek tragedy. There was a $1.6 billion estate in question left to E. Pierce Marshall, but Smith and disinherited son J. Howard Marshall III fought for a piece of it. As the case dragged all the way to the Supreme Court, Anna Nicole died, her son died, and E. Pierce Marshall died before the litigation was settled. Number 1. Hugh Hefner. The founder of Playboy magazine, Hugh Hefner has been a lightning rod of controversy for 50 years now. Advocate of a promiscuous lifestyle, Hefner only slowed down a little bit in the late 1980s due to a stroke. He became more dedicated to a healthy diet, but foraged on with multiple sexual partners continuously. In 2005, the E! Channel debuted the reality show The Girls Next Door with a 79-year-old Hef and his 3 20-something girlfriends, Holly Madison, Kendra Wilkinson, and Bridget Marquardt. The show lasted for 5 seasons, but ratings tanked when he dumped the 3 girls for a new set of girlfriends, and the show was quickly cancelled. In 2011, Hef was again in the tabloids, this time for getting dumped by Crystal Harris 5 days before their marriage, which was to be his 3rd.
So I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give us a like below, it really helps out. And if you enjoyed this video, do share it with a friend. There's a share tab below, you'll see loads of options, just gets this video in front of more people. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, big subscribe button below me now, so click on that. And over there on the right, a couple of other videos you'll also enjoy if you enjoyed this one. And I know if you're on a mobile device, you can't click on anything on the screen now, so there will be links in the description below. And thanks for watching.